Please welcome the Walt Disney Company Chief Diversity Officer, Latondra Newton.
Good evening, everyone. Now, I must say from this vantage point, you all look fabulous in those mouse ears. Thank you so much for wearing them. It is my distinct honor to be here with you at the 2018 Out and Equal Workplace Summit and to bring greetings this evening on behalf of the Walt Disney Company. Now, I'd like to take just a moment to acknowledge and extend my heartfelt appreciation to everyone in this room who serves as really tireless champions of workplace inclusion. And I'd like to give a special acknowledgement to the fellow LGBTQ allies in the room. And I know there are a lot of you. Yes. Now, our collective support for this incredibly important community of thinkers, doers, and believers would not be possible were it not for the efforts of every person in this room. So, once again, give yourselves a round of applause. Now, at the Walt Disney Company, we focus unapologetically on diversity, inclusion, and belonging. Now, what does this mean to us? It means that because our employees bring their talent, their hard work, dedication to Disney workplaces every day, it is our responsibility to make sure they have safe, respectful, and inclusive workplaces where everyone can contribute, grow, and develop world-class entertainment and experiences for our customers globally, kind of like what you just saw in the video. Now, thank you. Now, one of my goals as Chief Diversity Officer is to ensure that inclusion and a deep sense of belonging are embedded in the fabric of how we do business every day. Now, this requires strategy, intent, credibility, the full commitment of employees at every level within our company, and frankly speaking, courage. Now, we take this responsibility very seriously, and we're proud to be here at Out and Equal with companies that believe in and support equality. Now, I've been asked many times during my short tenure at Disney how and why I personally became an ally for the LGBT community. Now, I became an ally long before the word ally was part of the American lexicon in this particular context. For as long as I can remember, I've done volunteer work in my community. Serving others has always been a priority for me. And one of the places I love to volunteer was at a non-denominational church I attended years ago in the Midwest. Now, I enjoyed attending this particular church because, I believe they fostered an open and welcoming environment. People of all backgrounds and walks of life were members of this church community. Now, a dear friend, Ben, whom I knew to be a gay man, also loved to volunteer. And one Sunday, he and I volunteered to direct traffic in the church parking lot. It was one of those huge, mega churches with thousands of attendees. So traffic flow between services was really critical. Now, because Ben and I were good buddies and we really enjoyed working together and we're so in sync, we just had a blast that particular Sunday. Now, 2 weeks later, Ben was brought on stage during the Sunday service with the pastor of the church. And they publicly announced Ben's decision to go through what many would consider a reform or conversion program so that he could no longer identify as gay. Now, I can recall being stunned and saddened because I'd never heard this type of doctrine at that church prior to that very moment. And additionally, I'd gotten to know Ben pretty well. And I would never have guessed he might be open to doing something like this. You know, I talked to him at length after the service, and he explained to me that he'd been thinking about going through this program for a long while, and that he ultimately decided to do it, and he said he wasn't pressured by anyone. It was just his decision. Now, fast forward several months, my dear, irreplaceable friend Ben took his own life. I was heartbroken because he suffered in silence and never truly felt like he belonged. And this tremendous loss made me think very deeply about how difficult it must have been for him to live two different lives. How difficult it must have been to feel that he had to mask his internal struggle. And despite having so many loving, supportive people, kind people around him, Ben must have felt all alone on his journey. Now, I'm sharing this because from this personal experience arose my personal commitment to ensure that people, no matter where they come from or how they identify, are able to stand in their truth. Now, from a business perspective, I think one of my mentors put it best. He said, employees spend so much time at work away from the people they love and trust that our jobs as managers of people is to make sure that the time they spend away from those they love and trust is worth it. Now, when I connect the dots between this philosophy, yes. You know, connecting the dots between this philosophy and my personal experiences, I feel strongly that it is the responsibility of the Walt Disney Company and all companies to ensure that we have trusting and welcoming workplaces that allow us to embody our core values, live out our full potential, and show up as our authentic selves. You know why? Because we all belong. Thank you and have a wonderful night.